Welcome to St. Ambrose.
Welcome to St. Ambrose.
Welcome to St. Ambrose.
How awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord."
It was a very family-like atmosphere.
The one thing that drew me to St. Ambrose was the love. I wanted a church that expressed the love, and I can see the love among its people.
New people are coming in, so a lot of people are feeling welcome.
I really, really love St. Ambrose Church.
Most people would tell you that their church simply provides a place to worship or opportunities for service. At St. Ambrose Anglican Church, however, most members consider it an extension of their families.
This village was one of 4 on the island that was dedicated to the slave residential area. Of course, Adelaide, Gambier, Foxhill, the other 3, of course. But Carmichael was, in fact, considered headquarters for the slave residents. And of course, wherever a community was established, there had to be a presence of the Spirit, God's presence as well. So the Trinity Church was established for the freed slaves who they brought into the Carmichael area back in the 1800s, obviously before emancipation. So it served well not only as the spiritual presence, in fact, as a church, but it also served well as a school also, teaching in every aspect.
I thought it would be an important statement on the part of Anglican diocese to name a parish after someone whose commitment to the faith and dedication to the historic faith of the church is beyond any question and beyond any doubt. And in terms of where I see the parish moving, it is my hope that the parish will expand because of the population explosion.
Headed by Father Colin Saunders, St. Ambrose boasts a fascinating history, dating back some 300 years. The original Trinity Church was founded to serve residents in the Carmichael area and has been resurrected with the hope of carrying on that tradition.
When we began St. Ambrose Church, we had an idea of wanting to create a community that would be there for the people in the community. Not just an edifice or an entity within the community itself, but to be something that was all the community, where we'd be a part of all the community was all about.
With such a rich history, it is understandable that the vision for this church's resurrection had to be a very special one. This undertaking was to be quite a challenge. However, this newfound church family seemed very much up to the task, drawing together like a closed fist to form a bond that few people get to experience in larger churches.
Many of us never knew what existed over here in the bush, what we call the bush, where we used to come for dillies. We found some ruined walls, and I found out later this was a church that we were going to build. When we first came into the bush, we came in here with cutlasses. We had to cut our ways here. Then being a part of the Men's Fellowship, which I joined, we visited the site on Saturdays. So we would come and have morning prayers, and then we would eat chicken sauce and clean up or weed up a little spot.
At that time, you couldn't see any of this building from Carmichael Road or Gladstone Road. There was so much bush in here. And we cut a path into the church. We found the original walls still standing. There was no roof or windows or anything like that. There was some evidence that there may have been a fire or some other, maybe a hurricane or something that did some damage. The plan was then developed with the idea that the new building would incorporate what was left of the old building. And so if you look along the edges, you can see that there's still the remains of the old walls, which we've tried to keep in the condition that we found them.
But how does one modest church become such an intimate refuge? More than just a religious haven, the spirit of St. Ambrose seems to embrace and form a connection with each and every one that has walked through the doors or under the tent.
St. Ambrose started out at our home as a result of a conversation really that I had with Karen Jervis, who I was working with at the time. She just mentioned to me that the diocese was starting a new church, St. Ambrose, in this area, and she was inviting me. But she also mentioned that they were looking for some place to hold the services, and asked me whether I would be willing to offer our home. And I said that that was fine with me, and we were happy to do it. And that's how it started.
And even after, when people begin to come to church, they have to recognize that they are the church. No, not just come to church and say, well, I've been to church on Sunday morning and that becomes it for the rest of the week. In other words, they have to have that sense of belonging, that this church, I am the church. And therefore, whatever the church is engaged in, I must be involved with, I must be a part of, because this is what the church is meant to be.
My family, we were members of Holy Cross Parish Church, and Father Boyd, who was rector, had announced to Holy Cross that there was a new Anglican church being started in this area, and that he was encouraging members to support the church in a number of ways. And as it happened, this Sunday morning, Holy Cross was not having a 9 a.m. service. They were only having one service, and so I said to my family, why don't we go and check out this new church? And so we all piled in the car and came down, traveled down Gladstone Road, and went to the service under the tent in the back of the Bellot's yard, and we've stayed, we never left.
Well, we came from a structured church background. When St. Ambrose first appeared to us under the tent, we thought it was unusual first that an Anglican church would actually be under the tent. So we decided one Sunday to come and give it a try. When we walked under the tent, the atmosphere was so warm, so inviting, so family. There were none of the structured, the regular structures that we were used to in an Anglican church, by way of dress code, things of that nature. And everyone just seemed to want us there. So it was the family atmosphere that brought us in.
Being a part of the birth of a church can be very exciting. Being there as the mission and direction take place and watching the congregation grow, one parishioner at a time. It can almost be compared to the birth of a family. As St. Ambrose took the first baby steps towards its ultimate goal, a family began to emerge.
The years under the tent was an interesting experience, being in a parish that was coming up out of the ground.
Cultivating the attitude that families should worship together has always been the underlying message in this church's brief existence.
And I guess so from the very beginning, what St. Ambrose has been about is about families. Families are really the backbone of this church, and it is what makes us, I think, so special.
Strong, binding family unit. We need to get back to a conservative, basic way of life.
As any member will tell you, children have always enjoyed a special place at this parish. Included in every level of worship, the younger members of St. Ambrose Church have helped to cultivate the family atmosphere that is so endearing.
The building itself is an ancient building, but the people, so many of them are very young, and persons who come out with families. So it's good to see a lot of children in the worship, their participation in it, and of course, that gives you hope for the future.
From boat boy to the pulpit, the younger members of the church are always encouraged to be as active as possible. The youth of St. Ambrose take advantage of a number of activities and ministries. which helped to begin the process of creating future leaders in the church.
St. Ambrose Liturgical Dance Troupe began in March 2003 after a call went out at a ministries fair at the church on Sunday. And 2 weeks after that, we began meeting. We first asked girls 7 years and older, or persons 7 years and older, to come out and join the ministry. The response was great.
Our goal with the PYC really is to bring the young people together in St. Ambrose and for it to grow. So thus far we have done that by achieving our scouts, our cubs, our brownies, and our girl guides. We are about now to also form our youth choir. Okay. We actually have a Sunday put aside for just youth, and it's the third Sunday in the month that we participate in ushering, scripture reading, and also any special selection by singing or playing an instrument.
I think that it's good that every church, every Anglican church, has a Sunday school that help us learn new things about God.
I believe it's my calling. I've always been a Sunday school teacher. In my former church, I was a Sunday school teacher, and it's something that I believe that God has called me to do.
And we learn more about God to get closer to Him and closer to Him in His kingdom. And we learn a lot because we talk about like the different miracles and all the things that He did back in the time.
You have a chance to interact with other people, and you get to talk to them about different stuff, and you learn about their problems and know that you're not the only one with those problems.
During the course of the year, we relate our lessons to the gospel for the day. And so along with the gospel, we explore who am I, who is God, and what does God expect of me.
At Girl Guides meeting, we always start the meeting with saying the promise and the pledge, and we also end it with taps. We also play games and activities. It's very fun.
And what we do is we meet every Saturday here at church, and it's a fun-filled, activity-based kind of program. We don't earn badges or do things like that. We teach them certain skills and characteristics that will help them transition into brownies, but it's very much more informal. We do arts and craft and sing songs and things like that.
I like playing, having fun.
We started to scout at St. Ambrose because we felt that the male youth of our church was not involved enough for a good interaction with the whole congregation. So we found that scouting was a fun thing for the boys to do, so we wanted to let them have fun and also to learn. So we decided that scouting was going to be the best thing for them. So with scouting, we learned survival tactics and also a lot of discipline.
When building a spiritual family, worship and fellowship go hand in hand. Those close familiar bonds help to cement our ties as we grow.
Without a doubt, I think that one of the strongest characteristics of St. Ambrose is the fellowship. I think the members of St. Ambrose have always pulled together. They've always been happy being in one another's company, having discussions about numerous topics. But I think that fellowship, it started there and it's always continued. And I think that it's one of the strongest characteristics of St. Ambrose.
The purpose or the objective of the marriage fellowship is to have married couples meet in a matured Christian environment where you share similar ideas, purpose for discussions and for the betterment of the married couple.
But with so much fun going on, how is the real mission of this parish being instilled into its members?
We like our small girl in that we're able to reach out to our parish members and their families and really train our children exactly in the way of serving.
Altar service, or acolytes, are they're commonly called, goes or dates back to early church, first century church. The whole purpose behind serving is to enhance the service. You bring a special glory, a special radiance to the service when you're there and you're doing it right. We try to train our service. Serving has nothing to do with the individual, but it's all about what you're doing and how you enhance and bring beauty to the service. We try to train our acolytes exactly with the help of the guild at large, exactly what's the right way to serve and how to serve.
I think St. Ambrose really has opportunities for persons to grow spiritually.
But I found that with St. Ambrose, it was the perfect place to start it. It stems from Exodus 31, where God said that He's given us all knowledge and all abilities and different skills and craftsmanship. So He's given us these things to further His cause in this world.
About 3-4 years ago, I decided that we need to do something to honor our mothers. It's just something simple that I figured I can do as a way of give back and honor the mothers in the church.
The building of the physical structure of the church was not the only focus on Father Saunders' mind. He has always been very concerned with nourishing the spiritual growth of the congregation. That meant encouraging as many members as possible to be engaged in some area of service.
Father Saunders has been very pivotal in the early formation of this church, as everybody knows. And he's allowed a lot of persons of talent to express these talents within the church.
Father's intention is always to get everybody involved in some aspect of the church. And in 2000, I suppose the diocese had just launched Diocese 2000 and Beyond, which was an opportunity or a way of getting members involved in ministry in the church.
We focused our attention on trying to be a church that would assist in providing the needs for the community, especially, recognizing that the Carmichael area was one that was well supported by immigrants from other countries. We knew that the needs in that community would be great. The physical needs would be very great. So we began with that initial vision that we want to be that church, to be an outreaching church, to assist in the needs of the people, to be not just a spiritual entity, not just to provide a spiritual focus, or to assist in building them up spiritually. I mean, that being one of the main purposes of the church as well, but also to give an extra emphasis on being there to assist them with physical needs as well.
We realized that we needed to also go out into the community to let people know that we were here and to know that we were present in this area. On Saturday mornings, groups of us would go on what we called walkabouts. Father Saunders provided detailed maps of the areas, and we sectioned them off, and each week we would go into a different area. We started off in Flamingo, I think it's called Flamingo Gardens, and we actually went door to door, knocking on the doors, telling people who we were, what we were all about, telling them about St. Ambrose Church, about our services, about the organizations that we had. We also gave them pamphlets with the information on it.
We would like St. Ambrose ACW to become a highly visible organization in the community through its outreach program, visiting the sick and shut-ins and soup kitchen. A vibrant organization attracting the younger women of the church, growing spiritually, and through our commitment of service, be truly seen as women of God.
I used to come to the cross here, to the 10 cross here for things. Thanks to Joy very much. I appreciate just what they do for me.
It's a wonderful thing for the people in the community to help them who can't help themselves. I have never seen a church do that, but the same denomination. And I'm proud of it, and I thank God for you all.
What we're doing tonight in CYM is we're making these crochet crosses for our social outreach, and what we do for social outreach is we gather up all kind of canned foods and old clothing and what have you, and we distribute them on a selected Saturday to the poor and homeless people around the community. And we have this every 3 times a year, and we do it right before Easter, back to school, and during the Christmas holidays.
Appealing to a wide variety of people and personalities was easy here.
As Anglicans, we don't just allow ourselves to be caught up in the traditions, but we have a wide gamut of how the worship style and the services are available to people. We offer everything that we feel people would need to help them to draw closer to God and become more mindful of their spiritual responsibilities. You know, so we make ourselves available in almost every aspect of Christ's calling to make, again, people feel that, you know, you can come to church.
With my hands lifted up.
Music plays a vital role in any church, and St. Ambrose is no different.
Well, you know, in any faith community, music is at the core of it. Music is important to help create the atmosphere of worship. And even in our church, in our liturgical churches, it is key to helping to celebrate the Mass and to support the liturgical life of the parish.
Very proud of its accomplishment, the choir has grown from a modest 6 members to a full sectional choir. The St. Ambrose Community Marching Band, the dance troupe, and the choir all complement each other to make a very well-rounded musical experience.
My name is Dylan, and I play the drums, and it's fun because I love to beat, and I love to beat a lot with my hands, and they teach me a lot of good stuff.
On this journey towards securing a strong spiritual foundation, St. Ambrose has always tried to expose its members to different opportunities for growth.
Faith Alive would have secured a pretty solid foundation for St. Ambrose to continue in its spiritual growth and development, in bringing the parish even closer together.
Starting a church along this journey takes not only commitment and fellowship, but creative leadership and vision. Since its inception, St. Ambrose has been blessed with the presence of a number of clergy members.
Well, I came to St. Ambrose in its early years, I believe just after it was formed. When I came to St. Ambrose, I found it to be truly a missionary church, a church that met in a tent, somewhat like the house churches in the New Testament time. It met in a tent. It was a wonderful group of people that loved the Lord. I found a group of persons that were basically young, family-oriented. Many of the families in the church were just starting out their families. But my take is that, by and large, the members of the church were a happy, fun-loving, God-filled group of people that just wanted to worship their God in the Anglican way that we know how to.
Now, as they move forward, what does the future look like for this still growing family parish?
I believe that St. Ambrose Church is placed here for a reason. As you would have heard, when Trinity Church was started for the members of the freed slaves who in this area, they evangelized, they went out and brought people in. I believe that Carmichael Road area is developing by leaps and bounds every day. There are buildings going up. And I believe that St. Ambrose is being placed here to share the good news of Jesus Christ, who he is and what he's done for us, and how he can work in our lives today. So as we grow, I hope that we will keep in mind that we're a family.
They will come for the location,
but they will stay because of the quality of worship and the quality of ministry that they receive or that they are challenged to participate in. That would give them a sense of belonging.
St. Ambrose, certainly for me, has provided the kind of church home that I've always wanted, where persons are able to find their own level within this church community.
St. Ambrose is beautifully poised to be a driving force where it's located. And St. Ambrose, I've watched it grow into a really living force in the community. And I'm on the email list, and I see where that there are activities taking place all the time. They do things to develop the youth, which is so vitally important because they are the adults of tomorrow.
I feel that we've achieved a lot of what we had set out to do initially, to be the church for the community. And as we continue to grow, I'm trusting and praying that we can hold on to some of what we have already put in place. That, it often happens that you expand, you grow, and you change. I'm hoping that we do not change, at least in a way that compromises what St. Ambrose is, or what it always has been.
I really give God thanks for St. Ambrose Parish.
The parish of St. Ambrose exists to be servants of God. May this family continue to grow both spiritually and physically. O glorious patron, St. Ambrose, shield us graciously with thy protection, and obtain for us the final grace to share with thee the kingdom of heaven, to sing forever the mercies of God. Amen. This is St. Ambrose Anglican Church, the church with heart in the heart of Carmichael.